have to forgive if our voices are a little off in this episode. Our throat is pretty hoarse.
Hey, what's up? How you doing?
This is a heavier video, you know. You don't have to be all bubbly and whatnot.
Yeah, you're right. But how do you introduce something like this, really?
I don't know. Keep it real. What up, plebs? We're here. We're talking.
I really don't think that's appropriate either.
What do you know? You take more bricks than a Kit Kat bar. Can we really trust your expertise?
Well, there you go. Maybe I should just start there. About 1 year ago, I was sitting in front of my computer watching all of these videos on YouTube and wondering what I could do to join in. I wanted to branch out and create something special for myself. Something fun. Something entertaining and worth looking back to.
To be plainly honest, around this time last year, we'd just been put on bupropion because of therapy.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on. I remember that around the time I'd started taking it, I'd noticed how cold I felt in comparison to before. How I was always angry and bitter and just more inclined to be less social. That was around the time that I decided to start Double O Moogie.
Are you saying that I was born from the darkness within you?
Way to
Add a dramatic flair to it, Momo.
I am the edgy Moogle Queen.
Yeah, I created Momo to be the part of me that would essentially say what I was too afraid to. She's a character, just like I'm a character. We're creations by a mind that was and still is coping with a lot, with no real way to get out of it that felt right, or complete, or productive.
And so she started vlogging.
Well, I used the word vlogging pretty loosely. My idea to do Draw My Vlog was because Draw My Life videos happen to be some of my favorites on the site. I thought, hey, I could totally do this, and I figured it was an easy way to get what I wanted to say out there. I had so many plans. Writing is something that I pride myself in very much, even though I'm not the best at it.
I mean, we never aim to be the best at anything, just good enough to scrape by.
Exactly. I just had feelings and I wanted to get them out of me, and I felt that these videos were going to help me do that, whether or not they were good or bad. I took the unconventional approach and started to draw these simple panels on scrap pieces of paper that I got from a sketchbook I completely broke apart for the sake of this channel, instead of putting my actual face out there.
That paper actually finally ran out with one of the last videos we posted.
But somewhere I fell off. I forgot that this was supposed to be an outlet, and eventually started comparing myself to others and beating myself up way too much. Saying things like, my art isn't good enough for my own channel. My voice is annoying. My stories are uninteresting.
Speak for yourself. I am awesome.
It's not like I thought I was going to become successful overnight. And in all honesty, I appreciated what I was getting. The comments, the advice when I went to events, the screening Rainbow Senpai did.
First of all, you have to change the name.
Ah, yes. He's been updated to Super Saiyan Senpai for the time being.
Or forever.
Either way, Senpai helped me with my confidence a bit when he screened my first actual video, as cringy as it was compared to the way I do things now.
But when you're so self-deprecating in private that you don't believe you're good enough for a kind word, you're not going to accept the love that people are trying to give you.
2017 was a hard year. In some ways, I was extremely fortunate, and in other ways, it was probably one of the hardest years of my adult life.
What were the good things then? Just so that we know you're not entirely ungrateful.
I met the Bronies. Very early in the year, actually, through volunteering at NYC PonyCon. I met so many good people at the con and through the events that followed. I gained a little support network that kind of branched out from that, and that network helped me through one of the toughest days of my life months later when I was coming off of the bupropion and going into surgery. I also finally accomplished the goal that I'd been working towards for an entire year, which was getting the surgery. And I was able to rekindle 2 friendships over the year. Let's not forget everything involving Tat. Not just getting to meet her, but interacting with her at shows every time she came to Rockwood.
That's a lot of things to be grateful for.
But sooner or later, that familiar thought creeps into my head. People are my friend when it's convenient to be my friend. I have to go out of my way to make myself relevant to some people. And I have to be 100% accommodating to those who feel they shouldn't have to meet me halfway.
Man, you're clingy.
Momo, I'm not talking about being paid attention to every hour of every day. What I mean is that when I bring up a problem I see, I don't want it to be brushed under the rug like it didn't matter. And that was happening a lot between the winter and the spring. By the time the summer hit, just after my birthday, it kind of felt like the floor fell out from underneath me.
Like free falling through problem after first world problem.
First world problem or not, there's still issues. I hate the fact that just because we put the words first world in front of something, it's supposed to make it less important in some way.
There's nothing I can say to make light of this situation. She's right.
No, I might not be starving to death, but it's quite possible I might be going crazy. All of these plans that I had for the first 2 weeks of my recovery fell through. I was approached by at least 2 or 3 people and told either not to get the surgery or told that I didn't need it. After I'd expressed being nervous about finally signing the consent form I'd been working towards for an entire year. One friend waited until 3 days prior to tell me casually over drinks that they thought I shouldn't get it.
With friends like these, am I right?
I was visited in the hospital, and though I'm grateful as all hell that I didn't wake up as alone as I felt going in, sometimes I just felt like I would rather be alone anyway. With the exception of Guts, who sat 2 whole days with me and slept there just because, I had family who came in, and even as they saw me laying in that bed barely able to move said, "I told you not to get it, why didn't you listen to me?"
Ugh, whatever happened to bedside manners?
The months that followed weren't any easier either. My recovery was basically a month and a half of isolation in a dark room under a boulder made of Oxy cocktails. I was sad. I was sleeping through most of it, because being awake hurt both physically and mentally.
You have no idea how thankful I am that messy rooms bug you so much. We'd still be lying in that pigsty otherwise.
The first day I was up and about was one of the hardest days of my life. Grocery shopping felt like I was running a goddamn marathon. I was lightheaded, weak, wheezy, and if Guts wasn't there, I wouldn't have made it down the first aisle. Though I'm unsure if he knows exactly how weak I really felt.
Beauty is pain, though.
But look at what it took for me to get here, and I still have 100 pounds to go.
But you're still here.
I might be, but in some ways, I feel very much incomplete.
What do you mean?
Since physically recovering, I've been questioning my own talent and how I spend my time, which led me into looking into different areas of work, essentially trying to replace my last job, which was something I'd wanted to do for years.
Working in a movie theater?
Oh, come on. You act as if working in the box office and sassing off snot-nosed teenagers on school days wasn't one of your favorite things to do.
Yeah, I miss those days. Cut class in my theater? I think not.
Once you find a job that you're comfortable with, something you might even want to make a career out of outside of your passion, it's hard to replace that with something else, especially when it's something so specific. Working with those projectors was such a blessing, even if it was also a curse on some days.
No job is perfect.
No management team is without its imperfections either.
You know who you are, woman.
Recently, I found out that the guy I trained in my area, who would replace me that very week, was just promoted to the job that I was working so hard for.
That was a tough day.
Don't get me wrong, I don't resent him at all. I love the fact that his path there started with me, essentially, and it makes me a little proud that what he learned from me, he was able to take and use to further his own career. It's just, at the same time...
Tears were cried, because it could have been her.
I won't dwell on it, but much like a lot of other millennials at my age, we don't know what the hell to invest our time into anymore. For some, the plans that we made in our early 20s are falling apart right before us. And all we want is the ability to move on and cultivate our lives properly. But it seems so much harder to do now with so many more people who want the same. It's like living in general has become something of a competitive sport.
And even though we're told that this is not a race, it's hard not to feel that way when right as we feel we're making progress, someone pulls the rug out from underneath us.
Ugh. Finding out what my new limitations are in terms of what I can and can't do isn't easy. It's like I traded obesity for another slew of problems.
Dealing with the ins and outs of unhealthy relationships on top of our own issues doesn't help anything either.
That isn't even mentioning everything else.
Everything else here is an umbrella term used to cover certain topics we've decided are not appropriate to talk about in such a public way. But probably should be.
Talking about it here wouldn't really help anything, you know.
Maybe airing it out would make us more heard as opposed to being, what was the term you used? Brushed under the rug?
That's unfortunate but true.
And that's why I've suffered in silence instead of blessing thine ears with my amazing voice.
So, how have I been coping?
Spoilers.
I haven't. I've been trying to, but I've kind of just been falling into unhealthy habits and finding things to replace what I feel I've been missing in all of these little ways. Seeking trust in places where there isn't trust to be shared. One day maybe I can share these stories, but for now, you'll have to just deal with my saying I'm not in a healthy place.
But she's getting there. Slowly. Kind of. Baby steps. You know how it goes.
As a great poet once said, slow progress is better than no progress. I've come full circle to remember what I concluded last year.
That I exist?
Essentially. So, back to script writing and drawing I go. This is my therapy, and it's time to own it.
Wait, so what was the point of this video?
To vent.
Alright, I guess.
So, genius, how do you end a video like this?
Later, losers!
Sure, I guess we'll go with that. So, how is it that you cope with hard times? I could use a little advice. Start the discussion in the comments below. If you can relate, leave a like. If you think Momo's adorable,
I mean, who wouldn't?
then subscribe.
We also have a link to our blog in the description below, where we rant and review stuff we've seen recently and post scans of the cards we've drawn for all the episodes. Check it out at doublemoogie.wordpress.com. Bye!